Okay, we're going to do a video that's mostly revolved around place work. He's going to need a lot of place work when he comes home. You can do this inside, a lot of indoor training on place. Also, I like to do a session where I just mix all the commands. Let's go, Walter, come, here, sit, place, and do it outside. It's really good for dogs to learn how to relax outside. And I can just do like a long line session and throw place in the middle. So that's what's gonna happen today. I've got my e-collar paired to the speaker box so you can hear when I'm using the e-collar. I am layering my e-collar over all of my commands. So anytime I say place, Walter, come, here, it's all layered over the top of the e-collar. And I'm gonna show you specifically, hopefully today, how you can use the e-collar to reinforce that place means stay. It's one of the most effective ways to get the dog to quit trying to break place, which Walter does try to break place a lot. Let's go. Good job. So once I go to get him on place, I'm going to hold the e-collar, place. And right now I'm trying not to use my leash because I want him to start doing everything without the leash and just with the e-collar. So that was a 7 on the e-collar. It's pretty high for Walter, honestly. I mean, I've gone up really high on him before, but for something basic like this, 7 shows me a little bit of resistance in terms of getting on place, which we're still working on. He hasn't quite accepted place entirely, but I'm seeing dramatic changes in his appreciation for place. It's just going to take some more time to solidify it. Now what I really like about place is that when I move around and challenge him, he pays attention to me, so I get to build that pack drive up. So when you're working with him and you put him on place, you really want to create this movement to see whether or not he's paying attention to you. It's a great way to build pack drive and to keep the focus on the handler versus the things that make Walter nervous and anxious and want to bark. Let's go, bud. Let's go. That was just a 4, which is 3 and 4 is typically what Walter works on when there's nothing really going on. So my hope is that he's going to break place because he's not really settled right now. He's just standing there all tense, and he does this a lot. He'll just kind of freezes. Oh God, I don't know what to do. So I have 2 options here. I could help him and tell him what to do. You know, sit, Walter. Or I could just wait for him to do it on his own before I release him. I prefer waiting. It depends on the context of the situation. If I'm looking for something to be resolved a bit quicker, that's because I just tapped him off whining. Stop. If I really need him to get into a relaxed state of mind a bit faster than he's capable of, I might ask for him to sit. But if I have time, I'm actually going to wait for Walter to come up with this conclusion on his own. Anytime you hear the e-collar and I'm not layering it over a command, it's because I'm trying to quiet him from whining. Really want to break that habit that he has of expressing himself by whining. It's very obnoxious and it ties into his leash reactivity. So if I eliminate it, I can actually eliminate the desire to run at things. So right now I've decided I'm going to wait because this is a lot harder for Walter, and I like when a dog does it on their own. I feel like it resonates with the dog a lot more. Now if he breaks, the e-collar stays on until he gets back on. Just like that. Now I did hit the boost button, which I'll explain on Monday when you get to work with him hands-on. The boost button is +5. So he was 4, so that boost was a 9. I always boost him when he goes to get off place, because anytime Walter starts to kind of rush forward, which that was a mild rush, I know, but it's still him moving forward, I have found that he usually needs a boost button. He needs a very high increase in, compared to his working number. So there's a couple things though, if you rewind the video, the e-collar turned on the second he tried to get off place. It turned off the second he got on place. And at the same time, I squared off with him and used my physical pressure to push him back into place. So I call that spatial pressure. This is something that you, it would help for you to understand and get better at. He's fixating on the chickens. Let's go. I'm going to move that and get him off that before he starts getting all worked up. Go. Go. Place. So I'm going to see if he'll break here. Place. Boost. I moved in. The second he sits, the e-collar turns off and I remove myself because I am using multiple forms of pressure to keep Walter on place. Okay, so when I first started working with him, I would use the leash as a form of pressure. I'd boom, block him with the leash and step into him. And that was leash and spatial pressure pushing him back. Once I did the e-collar, I layered all three: leash, e-collar, spatial pressure. Now, he knows the e-collar and he understands pressure release, so I can just use the e-collar and my physical body to push him back. So basically, when Walter tries to break place, we're going to put pressure on him to get him back on. E-collar pressure, spatial pressure, leash pressure if we need to. And we must release the pressure when the dog does what we want it to. Could it be any louder? Now, that was still a 4, but if you guys don't get any movement forward, like you're on a 4 and you're like place, I would rather you go up on your e-collar until he gets on place than use your leash. Because if I can use the e-collar as the sole means of communication, I can get off the leash and I no longer have a need for it. Right? The leash and the e-collar have the same representation. It's actually an electronic leash. Very good, Walter. Very good. This is what I want. So you're going to find that if your center of focus is more on getting good at the e-collar and following through with the e-collar, you won't need a leash to accomplish any of your goals. So by waiting for him to do this on his own, he will come up with the conclusion that place is more calm and relaxed. So again, if you have time to allow him to go through this on his own, he will be more willing to do this and more actually relieved to be on place, because his brain comes up with the conclusion on its own that place means calm and relaxed. Let's go. Now I'm petting him there because I want to reinforce that calm state that he just was in. Place. Good. Place. Move in. He gets back on. I'm going to back him off a little bit more. Place. Good. I back up. So, and when you're doing this at home, you know, hopefully in the next 9 days, dogs usually by now have put together they can't break place. He has not quite put that together yet. I don't think this is for lack of intelligence or anything. I think this has more to do with the fact that he's a very anxious dog, and it's much harder for an anxious dog to, one, be still and calm, and two, to retain information. So this is just a delay in learning from his anxiety. But when you start working him when he gets home, he might have a tendency to want to reject this command because the home has a lot of association with anxiety. So you might go home and he might take to this right away. I don't know. I really can't tell you. But if he does it and he says, no, I want to, my brain here wants to be anxious. I'm not ready to be calm in this house. You want to be hyper vigilant when you're working with him on place and almost be ready for him to break so that you can be very quick about this, you know? Oh, e-collar boost, spatial pressure on, pressuring the dog back on place, release right when you get what you want. By doing this, the quicker you are about responding to breaking place, the more that command is reinforced, and that's what we want. So we want to be quick about this. Now, I like to think of this as lazy man training. Let's go. I'll be right back with that thought. Hush, be quiet. Please. See if I can get him to break here. We do this lazy man training, that concept, because I'm actually programming him to respond to me physically moving into his space as a form of communication that represents get back on your place board, and the e-collar pressure tied to that physical movement is going to teach him that these two forms of pressure basically are saying you better get back on your place board. The pressure is not going to turn off until you do. So the benefit of this, why I call it lazy man training, is because eventually you could be across your house this far away. Let's see if he'll do it. Place. I had to grab his leash there because he was not going to do it. Let's see if he'll do it again. I'm going to go up on the place. Now I'm standing like maybe 2 feet further in that scenario. That was a 9 on the e-collar. 4 plus a 5, that was a 9. The first few times I've had to really get into his space, that time I kind of stayed a little bit further away. He's not great at this yet, so he'll get better, but the whole goal is that you can do this from this far away and just square off with him and hold the e-collar, and he's going to start getting used to that presence as representing get back on place. So this is really good information for you because you should be able to do this across your house and across your yard if you practice it enough times. And I'm obviously working on it, but Walter has a long ways to go, you know. That's why he has to be here for 3 weeks. He doesn't retain information very well, and he holds a lot of tension in his body from all the anxiety he's been under his whole life. So it's a much harder thing for them to listen to different forms of pressure as well as relax when they're feeling that way. When he gets home, he's going to be much better than what you see now, but he's going to have old associations, so we're going to have to work through those things before we get to a point where we can accomplish our long-term goals. It's going to have to be more in phases than anything. So that's kind of my place work tutorial, I guess. The key to place work is, or I should say, the key to making place a stay is to maintain it no matter what, and then obviously the only time he can get off this thing is on my permission, right? So when I say the words are the release. So So if I go up and grab the leash right here, that's not an invitation to get off. It has to be my words. Dogs will anticipate that and break when they're not supposed to. So I need my command, let's go, to be the thing that gets him off. Place is the word that gets him on. Place. Good job, Bubs. I need to maintain this as I'm working him through it. You can tap him off whining. It'll help speed up the process. And you're going to be using these different forms of pressure to manipulate him to do all of these things. Hopefully that all makes sense. We can go over it more on Monday, but this is going to be really important for you in empowering yourself to have better control over this guy so we can get his anxiety under control. Let's go.